Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed last week's program. We've got a new one for you today. And
well, before we get to the new program, last week we told you all about our memory verse competition, where we're challenging you guys to do an art or a craft around the theme of the memory verse and submit it to us via photo or video for your chance to win this awesome prize pack.
And I'm gonna win that pack.
I haven't seen you do any arts or craft all week. How are you going to win it?
I'm glad you asked. I have a plan. I'm gonna eat this tube of Easter eggs and this pack of hot cross buns.
Did you make the hot cross buns?
No.
Did you decorate the Easter eggs?
Maybe.
So how have you done an art or craft around our Easter verse?
What if I ate twice as many?
No, it doesn't work like that. But you're right, the eggs are empty, they're hollow eggs.
Yeah.
And there's crosses on the hot cross buns. And we're going to talk about how those two symbols are significant to Easter in just a moment. But you cannot win the memory verse competition by eating.
Okay.
So don't forget guys, it's not too late. We're drawing a winner tomorrow. So if you haven't already, make sure you get mum or dad to send us a picture or a video of your memory verse craft. Let's have a look at what some people have done already.
He is not here. He is risen, just as he said, chapter 28:6.
He is not here. He has risen just as he said he would. Matthew 28:6.
Wow, that was some great Easter memory verse art.
And I reckon that you guys have some more coming. So make sure you send us your photos and videos for your chance to win before tomorrow.
All right. I think we should have a look at that memory verse one more time. Actually, better yet, let's read it.
Right.
He is not here. He is risen, just as he said he would. Matthew 28, verse 6.
Jesus journeyed from town to town to spread God's message all around. He was put to death upon a cross, but hope for us was all not lost. He lay for 3 days in a tomb, but then he rose up from the gloom. When he died, he saved us from sin, and now we praise and worship him.
Okay, so now we're going to look at the story of the death and resurrection of Jesus. But we're going to use some eggs to help us tell the story.
Chocolate eggs?
No, they're not chocolate eggs, I'm sorry. But would you like to help me? Can you choose an egg?
Okay, I can do that.
What's inside the egg?
Chocolate.
Not chocolate.
Guilty?
Guilty. So, the chief priests and teachers of the law believed that Jesus was a criminal and needed to be punished. So early on Friday morning, they took him to a man named Pilate, who was the governor at the time. Pilate came out from his palace and asked the people, "What has this man done wrong?" Pilate said to the crowd, "I don't find this man to be a criminal. He's done nothing wrong." But the people insisted he is a criminal. He's guilty. He must be punished by death. Later that morning, Pilate called all the people together again and said, "I have studied the situation well. I still find that Jesus has done nothing wrong. Nevertheless, I will punish him for you and then let him go." Upon hearing this, the people demanded that Pilate release another prisoner instead. "Release Barabbas," they said. "Then what should I do with Jesus?" Pilate asked. The people shouted, "Crucify him!" Louder and louder they yelled, "Crucify him! Crucify him! Crucify him!"
Wow.
Let's choose another egg.
Tough crowd. And in this one, we've it's a crown of thorns.
So Pilate didn't want Jesus to be put to death because he didn't believe that Jesus was guilty of doing anything wrong. However, he also didn't want to upset the people and by disagreeing with them. He could still hear them shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." So Pilate had his soldiers, they beat Jesus with whips, and they made a crown of thorns and put it on his head. Then they mocked him and they yelled repeatedly, "Hail, King of the Jews," as they struck Jesus in the face.
Wow. Ooh. What's this one?
A cross.
It is a cross.
So then the soldiers led Jesus to a place called Golgotha. A large crowd followed, many weeping for Jesus. The soldiers made him carry a heavy wooden cross. Jesus grew tired and weak. The cross was so heavy that he fell to the ground. The soldiers grabbed a man named Simon and made him carry the cross part of the way.
Aha. A nail?
A nail. Now this is a very small nail, but the nail we're about to read about was a very big one. So when Jesus finally got to the place called Golgotha, they nailed Jesus to the cross by his hands and his feet. They crucified him along with 2 other criminals. There was one to his right and one to his left. Jesus looked up and said, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." The soldiers made fun of Jesus, saying, "If he is the Christ, let him save himself." But Jesus didn't come to save himself. He came to save us. Just before noon, darkness came over the whole land. The sun actually stopped shining and it was dark for several hours. Then Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Father, I give to you my spirit." And he took his last breath. Suddenly, the curtained temple ripped from top to bottom and there was a large earthquake. Everyone was terrified. One of the soldiers who watched everything said, "Surely he was the Son of God."
Oh. Okay. What have we got in this one? Oh, one of the kids brought in a stone. Again.
That's a rock.
Alright, it's a rock.
So Jesus died on a Friday afternoon. Jesus died on a Friday afternoon. Friends quickly placed his body in a tomb cut into a rocky hillside and blocked the entrance with a great big stone. Now this stone, they say, would have been bigger than a car. It was big enough to block the entrance of the tomb. And then guards were sent in front of the tomb to secure it to make sure that nobody would move the rock.
Okay.
Last one.
Okay. I've been ripped off. There's nothing in this Easter egg. It's empty.
That's right. So on Sunday, when 2 women, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, were visiting the tomb, they felt a great earthquake. They looked for Jesus, but they saw someone had moved the stone and Jesus wasn't there. The tomb was empty, like this Easter, egg. They saw an angel. The guards were so frightened that they shook and fainted. The angel told the women, "Do not be afraid. Jesus was not here, for he has risen." Remember our memory verse? He is not here. He is risen, just as he said he would. This meant that Jesus was alive, and the angel told them to go quickly and tell everybody that he was alive. So this is the story of Easter, and this is why we have hot cross buns on Good Friday, because we remember that Jesus died on the cross. He didn't come to save himself, but he came to save us. And then on Easter Sunday, we eat all the Easter eggs.
Yes, we
and
do.
those Easter eggs, we have hollow ones that are empty, just like the tomb was empty, and also eggs represent new life. So we remember that Jesus came to life to give us life.
When Jesus lived on earth, he showed love to everyone he met. But the way he showed love often made people who were jealous of him very angry. In fact, over time, they got so angry that they made stuff up about him to get him arrested. God knew that people like you and me would choose to do wrong things. Those wrong things are called sin. You see, God made the world and loves each person, even though we sin. God sent Jesus to take the punishment for all the wrong things we do. That's the real reason Jesus was arrested and punished with death on the cross, even though he had never done anything wrong. As Jesus was dying, there were two men on either side of him. One man made fun of Jesus, saying, "Hey, if you are really the one who came to save, why can't you save yourself?" The guy on the other side of Jesus got angry and replied, "You and I have done really bad things that deserve punishment, but Jesus has done nothing wrong." When Jesus heard those words, he looked at the man who clearly loved him and said, "Today, you will be with me in heaven." Shortly after that, Jesus died. 3 days later, there was an earthquake at the tomb where Jesus had been buried. An angel rolled the stone away to show that Jesus' body was no longer there. Because of his love for us, God raised Jesus back to life. Knowing Jesus is alive is the best news we could ever have. It proves that he has the power to defeat both sin and death, and that we can trust him. When we commit to following Jesus, his power over our sin makes it possible for us to have a new life and live with him in heaven one day. And that's why we celebrate Easter.
Well, that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Don't forget to get those memory verse arts and crafts in. You have until Monday, that's tomorrow, to get those in.
And then check in with us again next week as we start a brand new program. Well, to finish with today, we saw some pretty cool things on Facebook this week, and so we're just going to leave you with this.